The judge approved that. Those questions still to be decided in custody proceedings, which have begun and which will resume next week. Brian?
Mike Taibbi outside. We've also learned that when Jennifer Hudson and Lionel Richie walked in to take their positions, that was the reason for some of the applause we heard. Lester Holt continues to watch with us. And Lester, very few Americans find anything familiar about the life of the personal life, how he has lived over these past several years, certainly. And more than that, a lot of parents saw a heartbreaking moment when Joe Jackson, his father, in the immediate aftermath of Michael Jackson's death, came out in the driveway of the home in Encino and said the kids are inside with their cousins and they're getting along fine. You know, they haven't been around other kids. And when you think about it, of course they haven't. But and you realize the reasons for it, I guess, but how heartbreaking.
Well, and you think how reclusive Michael Jackson has been since that trial, even you could argue somewhat before, but that nature then surrounds everyone around him, and certainly his kids. But, you know, we have to stand back, because I've watched this, and there has been a circus, you know, quality to this whole thing, and sometimes we have to remember that he was a person too. And certainly, you know, odd in the estimation of many of us, but, you know, he had children, kids that only know him as their father, a mother and father. And these people are grieving, and they are going through what anyone would go through with the loss of a son or a brother. But at the same time, he was such a over-the-top personality that it follows him into death. I mean, consider the fact that not only all these people have come here, Brian, there are 37 movie theaters around the country right now that are carrying this. That people are, from Florida to California, walking to movie theaters right now and watching this. And as you mentioned, around the world, I mean, I heard a dozen languages just making away from the trailer up here a little while ago. The interest is just beyond anything that not anything, but very few things that we've ever seen and we've ever covered. To
Lester's point, Nancy Giles, who continues to watch with us, it is hard to get your arms around the media coverage of this. And, as a friend of mine says, the American public has a funny way of deciding for itself what its major moments are going to be culturally, and what to be interested in, despite at sometimes the news media's better wishes. And this is an event because it is.
This is huge. I mean, I have never seen anything like this in my life. The closest I can think of this kind of reaction was when Princess Diana died 10 plus years ago. I'm staggered by the fact that there's so much news coverage that everything is literally stopped in the news today to mark the passing of this incredible musician.
George Lewis, I'm told, is now with us from that family compound in Encino, where it really has become a matter of media management, traffic management, and pedestrian flow over these past several days. It's been the location of so much of the public aspect of this grieving. George?
Yeah, I can say, Brian, that we have kind of worn out our welcome here. People keep asking the media, when are you guys going to leave? This street in front of the Jackson compound has been pretty much closed down because of all the media interest and because of people coming by, setting up this makeshift memorial behind me. You talked earlier about the costs to the city of Los Angeles, estimated at $4 million and rising for protection for police services, because the police have to secure a number of venues, including in front of the Jackson House, including Forest Lawn, including the area around the Staples Center downtown. So it's pretty expensive in terms of police overtime. And because the city is in a huge deficit, over $500 million right now, several members of the city council have suggested that maybe the Jackson family or the people who own the Staples Center, AEG, should step up and foot part of the bill. And they've also set up a site on PayPal where Jackson fans can also help contribute to defray the cost of this. We'll see how successful that is. Brian?
George Lewis and Encino. For those just joining us, here's what's transpired so far as we look at these scenes from earlier today. Joe Jackson in the front seat. Joe Jackson, by the way, who started out his professional life a crane operator, U.S. Steel, Gary, Indiana. A couple of guys had a band that was based at the plant. That kind of put the musical germ into him. And then, of course, he discovered that this brood he and his wife were raising in this tiny salt box home in Gary, Indiana, had the talent we all learned later that they had. When we've been talking about the scope of this as a kind of a global event, as a media event, when Smokey Robinson came out to read some of the statements of leaders really around the world, Nelson Mandela has today commented on the death of Michael Jackson. Lester, he may be one of the, when we take the long view of history, one of the towering moral figures of the last 100 years.
But he has to recognize, and I think as we all recognize, that love him, don't love him, love his music, don't love his music, that Michael Jackson took his place among those relative handful of people who made an impact around the world, that the name brings an immediate reaction, good or bad, around the world.
I'm told music is starting up again inside the Staples Center.
No more dying. We are going